Now, I've forgotten a lot of things in my life. Birthdays, song lyrics, to finish writing this intro. But you know one thing that I really can't blame anybody for forgetting? Call of Duty maps. Because there have been literal hundreds over the years, possibly even thousands if you could count that high. We've had war-torn streets, abandoned outposts, real-life landscape, midnight infiltrations, we've seen countryside, cityscape, suburban hellholes, and probably fought atop every different type of transportation that you can imagine. But among all of the nuke towns and shipments sits a number of maps that just no one really talks about anymore. And frankly, I don't know that anyone ever really talked about them. Maps like Fallen, or Frost, or Flooded, or Fracture, or Frost again. Maps that, if you couldn't figure it out by my subliminal messaging, are big fat F's for
Forgettable.
Which, by the way, doesn't mean bad. In fact, part of the problem with our dumb little monkey brains is that the bad stuff in our life is usually the most memorable. Piccadilly, Downturn, Santa Sania. You think the only reason that we remember Stonehaven exists is because of its classic architecture? No, it's because that map fucking sucked. Meanwhile, then we have a map like Ascend from Advanced Warfare. Was it a good map? Was it a bad map? I don't know. You tell me. I don't think I've thought about this thing since 2014. And there's obviously, a million maps like this, right? Airship, Mirage, Ignition, Detour, Carbon. There was even a map based around a crashed spaceship with Mount Rushmore in the background. It was called Site 244, I think. And I swear it didn't exist before 2019. I swear to God. But today, I wanted to break down exactly why a lot of these maps that the COD devs have likely spent months of their lives on have been met with basically nothing but extreme apathy. So please join me on my quest to find the most forgotten map across all of Call of Duty. A map that, no matter who you ask, will not have a clear opinion on it. They will say, "What? I've never played that map before in my life. Please get out of my house. I'm calling the police." And then you can say back to them, "Oh, I'm sorry. I must have forgotten that you were a little bitch. Give me your money now." I'm sorry. I don't fully know what that was. I may have forgotten to take my medication today. Also, as a little bonus mini game, if you want to keep track of how many of these forgotten maps you remember, and let me know down below, that'd be cool, because I assume that other people have similar memories to me, but maybe I'm just like, what am I doing? So let's start off by defining what exactly makes a map forgettable. Well, like many things, it's many things. But the biggest and most obvious, if it's just fucking boring, right? These are maps that even visually get lost in the background with dull colors and boring scenery. For instance, this could probably sum up most of the newer Modern Warfare maps. For as much as I enjoy the new gritty realism take that this game in particular brought to the franchise, it does kind of by definition lead to pretty unremarkable visuals. You've got maps like St. Petrograd, which, despite me never having been to Russia, seems pretty par for the course. It's just like a place. Nothing's, I'm starting to notice like a fatal flaw in this video concept. What do I even talk about here? Then there's maps like Arklov Peak, which I don't think I ever actually played on. Even one of the more standout maps from 2019, like Hackney Yard, plays fine, but atmosphere-wise is just overcast and dreary in a way that makes me want to stay inside, curl up with a good book, and finally learn how to read. I mean, no wonder this game was full of campers. No one wants to go outside, it's raining. And I remember COD Ghosts also being particularly bad about this, where you had maps like Tremor that all just blend into a single color in my mind and hypnotizes its cool map-specific earthquake element completely out of it. In any other game, the fact that a map has this unique fucking earthquake rumble that would damage you and like alter parts of the map would be huge. But here, it's just like bleh, you know? $20 to anyone who would have actually remembered this map's name without me telling you. You know what? Actually, I take that back. Someone's gonna try collecting. Some restrictions apply. It also doesn't help that it feels like most of Ghost's launch maps couldn't be picked out of a lineup. In fact, we're actually gonna do a quick little pop quiz for you. This picture right behind me, this screenshot, what map do you think it was pulled from? Was it Siege? Was it Chasm? Was it Flooded? Or was it Tremor? Oh, so close. It was actually a trick question. This is Stormfront. Great pun, terrible map. And speaking of, this whole boring element actually also extends into map names in general too. You know, nothing more exciting than jumping on to play a team deathmatch on Compound, a map so descript that I can't believe it took them 11 entire years to finally use it. Like do me a favor and just imagine in your brain where most people imagine things. What does the map Perplex sound like to you? If I said, hey, new Call of Duty's coming out, the #1 map is Perplex. What is it? What do you see? Because I swear the actual answer will baffle you. But of course, part of being forgettable could just be that people have already seen whatever you have to offer. You want a snowy outpost? We've got a billion of them. War-torn Middle Eastern country? We have an atlas full. What about weapons factories? Well, do you want them in small, medium, or large? Not to say that, you know, every Call of Duty map has to be wholly unique or anything. I mean, there's been so many maps over the years that, like I said, I would be shocked if there was anything out there that they haven't done by now. But that doesn't change the fact that when a game drops another abandoned warehouse turned militia base, I'm only going to completely forget about it for the dozens of other abandoned warehouses turned militia bases that we've already seen over the last 20 years. Now, another big contributing factor to whether or not a map will be forgotten at the bus stop is exactly when it actually releases. See, a boring map at launch may be forgotten, but even an interesting map can be overlooked if it's part of a poorly timed post-launch pack. For instance, I'm sure that Chop Shop here was a fun time back when it dropped on April 30th, 2015. But personally, by the time that this DLC rolled around, I was already so checked out of Advanced Warfare's jetpack jousting that I didn't even bother. Which sucks, because this whole map pack looks like it would have been a ton of fun back in the day. It's the same one with that Mount Rushmore map that I mentioned briefly earlier, which, by the way, if you remember the name of by now at this point in the video, you win a tub of mysterious ooze. That's right, replay mode has the exact same reward system as the Kids' Choice Awards. That's a brand new lore drop for you. And Black Ops 3 was also just chock full of these DLC maps that were actually super unique, but seemingly get completely forgotten whenever there's a conversation about Black Ops 3. And I've talked about a bunch of these maps before in previous videos, but I'm talking about maps like Rift, Verge, Cryogen, the one that I always think is called Spire for some reason. And even some of the map variants, like Redwood Snow, just look beautiful and like nothing else on disc. But yet, because they were part of pretty late stage DLC, they just get forgotten, like it's another Strike remake. Another thing that I want to bring up, but it doesn't really fit anywhere like naturally in this video, is World War II, which also had a handful of these forgotten DLC maps, but really the two that I want to laser focus on are Egyptian Sands and Crimean Mountains, aka the two maps that you would play Dogfight on. And mostly just because not only did I and you also forget that those maps were in the game, but you probably also forgot that there were even planes in this game to begin with. Then there's also some maps that were actually added to Call of Duty games after the following one released, as if they were embarrassed by it, but for some reason needed to push it live for fucking tax purposes, maybe. Who knows? For instance, Raab Airbase back in 2019, whose aesthetic I actually really dig. It's set on an American airbase in Uzbekistan, and it perfectly encapsulates that new modern warfare tactical vibe while still being pretty visually interesting. Then one other huge part of this really just comes down to the game itself. Right? The franchise is so big that there is entire games to be forgotten, let alone maps. I mean, I'm still reeling from the news that Call of Duty 4 wasn't the first game. I always just assumed that they did a whole Star Wars thing. And look, I probably should have mentioned this at the top of the video, but obviously, I'm gonna have a much different memory than whoever's watching this, right? But believe it or not, despite being just so goddamn relatable, I am not actually you. Unless I'm watching this video later, in which case, sup? But for me, two games that I just checked out of were Infinite Warfare and then Black Ops 4. No disrespect to the devs or the people who like those particular titles, but they just weren't what I was looking for in a video game at the time. So imagine my surprise when I see that those two games in particular actually had some pretty banger sounding maps, like Crusher, Mayday, Artifacts, Morocco. But I kind of feel like treating them as if they're widely forgotten is cheating, right? So I'm just gonna remove any of them from the running as COD's most forgotten map, because I don't know, it just seems fair. I mean, I guess this whole thing is kind of flawed, right? I mean, like, how forgotten can something really be if I'm actively talking about it right now? Like, any map that I mention, by definition, will no longer be the most forgotten, right? Because it's one that we're all actively not forgetting anymore, right? Does that make sense? Am I overthinking this? Yes. So you know what? Maybe the moral to the story here is that nothing is truly ever forgotten. Because just because something is forgotten now doesn't mean that it can never be remembered later. Also, it's Punta Mar. That's the one. It checks basically all of the boxes, and it's just no one remembers Punta Mar. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Channel members are listed all everywhere around me. I mentioned it briefly in the last video, but once again, we have just rebranded the entire channel membership side of things. So if you want to become a channel member, hit that join button down below. It's 99 cents, and you get exclusive videos, and your name is highlighted, and all this cool stuff. In addition to showing your support directly for the channel, I really appreciate it. Anyway, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.